Hey guys, it's Laney. Welcome back to the shop. Now when I left off, I was giving the panels of this chest a wash coat of tung oil before applying the lacquer top coats. And I was pre-finishing all the panels before gluing them into their frames. Once I applied the tung oil, I let it cure for 6 days to make sure it was fully cured before applying the lacquer. And the lacquer I chose for the chest was Sherwin-Williams Cab acrylic lacquer. It's a water white finish, it goes on clear and it stays clear. Once the panels were done, I went ahead and glued them into their frames and I glued the chest together. Now we need to start working on the inside and the bottom of the chest. The bottom of the chest is going to be 1/2-inch Baltic birch plywood, and the inside is going to be lined with cedar. The cedar I went ahead and milled down into 1/4-inch thick strips, and they'll be lap jointed up the sides. I book matched my cedar panels, and I tell you, I'm real happy with some of the way some of these look. If you can see the flecks in that wood, I mean, it's just really nice. I'm happy with it. The cedar tree that I milled time and time again has given me some beautiful wood, and I'm real happy with it, and I still got a lot left to do a lot more things with. So what we're going to do is we're going to get set up, and we're going to get started on getting the bottom installed as well as the cedar. Now, due to the size of my shop, handling a 4x8 sheet of plywood is virtually impossible, so everything is cut to size outside on a set of sawhorses. Once the manageable part of the plywood is brought inside, I check for square. I go ahead and make some final measurements. And then set the fence for the cut. We're going to start by cutting the length of the board. As always, hearing protection and eye protection is important. Making sure the panel is rested up against the fence firmly, go ahead and cut the panel to its final length. We'll now reposition the fence to cut the panel to its final width. Again, making sure the panel is firmly against the fence, go ahead and make the final cut. Now that the panel is cut to its final dimensions, we can get ready to mark and notch out all 4 corners. Because of the intrusion of the legs on the inside of the chest, all 4 corners have to be marked and notched out. I preset my marking gauge according to the depth of the leg intrusion, and I transfer those marks onto the panel. Repeat this step for all 4 sides. Now that all 4 corners are clearly marked, we can go ahead and cut out the notches with a jigsaw. cutting just inside of the line. I want to ensure a nice snug fit. Repeat this process for all 4 corners. Once all 4 corners of the panel is cut out, it can now be installed into the chest. Alright guys, on the bottom side of this chest I went ahead and glued and pin nailed some 3/4 by 3/4 inch hickory strips that will act as a lip for the floor of the chest to sit on. I went ahead and pre-drilled them for screws. Once I put the floor in, I will screw it in place, and then we'll get ready to put the cedar in. Okay guys, I got the bottom in the chest, and now I need to start working on the cedar lining. The cedar has already been ripped down into 4-inch wide by 1/4 inch thick strips, but I'm going to be book matching these panels. So what I need to do is make sure that I have nice jointed edges. I don't have a joiner in my shop, so one of my workarounds for that is I'll either, depending on the size of the board, I'll either use my table saw for joining or my router. Now with these small strips of cedar, I'm going to go ahead and use my router as a joiner. And what I did is on my router I installed a sacrificial fence, which is a piece of melamine 3/4 inches thick. On the outfeed side of the router, I went ahead and laminated another 1/32 inch strip of laminate, and that way it will give me the same effect as if I was running the board through the joiner. Using the table saw or router as a joiner has become second nature. Not having a joiner in the shop does have its limitations. However, this process works just as well. I want to make sure that both sides of each strip is jointed properly and that there are no gaps when I do the glue up of these panels. Once I run them through the router, I will check my progress, ensuring that there's no gaps. If I see anything, then I'll just go ahead and run it through again. Depending on the condition of the edge, I may need to run it through a couple of times. And I'll continue this process till all the cedar strips are done. Okay guys, I'm back. Now this video is going to be a little bit choppy as far as the production went. Yesterday when I started the introduction and started getting into making these panels, I got called away for a few hours. A client needed some help, so duty called and I had to take care of it. But we're going to start fresh from here, and what you missed last night, when I got back in, it was pretty late, and I'm definitely not camera pretty at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't videotape any of the making of the panels. I finished up about 5 o'clock this morning, and what you missed, or what's not going to be shown in the video, is I glued all the panels together, and then once they were set up, I went ahead and cut them down to size. Pre-fit them into the chest to make sure everything was good, and now we're at the point where we're going to get ready to install them into the chest. Earlier in the video I had mentioned about the panels. When I was gluing them together, I was going to lap joint them and basically trim off 1/8 of an inch off of each edge and lap joint it. Well, that as I got to looking at it, things change, plans change, and I'm sure you're aware that you'll get into doing something and you've got a plan, and then you make changes all the way through, and there's no difference here. I got halfway through everything and I was like, it's just an unnecessary step. I didn't lap joint them. I went ahead and edge jointed everything together, and I tell you, the panels are just, they're pretty. So let's go ahead and get set up, and let's get them into the chest, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. See you in a minute. Okay guys, over here at the chest, we're getting ready to put the panels in, and the bottom panels where we're going to start, we had to notch out all 4 corners of the bottom panels so it will go around these legs. Now the panels are going to be installed with glue and pin nails. The pin nails are headless brad nails, pretty much invisible. But as an extra precaution, I'm going to be pin nailing on the edges where the side panels will cover. And for the side panels, when I pin nail around the edge, I'm going to make sure it goes where the interior trim will cover the side panels. So what we need to do is go ahead and get a little bit of glue around the edge of this panel. And I'm not going to go real heavy with the glue. I'll put a little bit. It won't need a lot of glue, just periodically. Because as I said, it's going to be reinforced with pin nails. Watch out now! Hit the clip. Alright, now we'll start with the side panel. Do the same thing. Now there's nothing, oops, I don't do that. Watch your glue spill. Now there's nothing on the center of the panel because this is a raised panel. There's nothing for the glue to attach to, so I'm not going to put any glue in the center of the panel. Now, I left the top of the panel a little proud, probably about a 1/4 inch high, because I am going to flush saw them all the way around so it's nice and smooth. Now I'm getting a top piece of trim here before the lid, but I want a nice flush surface for that trim piece to lay on. Alright guys, once all the cedar panels are in, now it's time to put in the corner trim. And corner trim is not necessarily a necessary step, but I want to cover the edges of these panels, and as well as the corner of the legs, and you know, just kind of give it a smooth look. And how I'm going to do that is I cut some hickory trim, and I've got 45s on two sides. So basically, when it goes into the chest, it'll rest against both walls, covering the edges and that leg, and just give it a nice smooth. And I'm just going to pin nail this into place. I'm putting a pretty good amount of pressure on it to make sure that the edges of the trim meet up against the panels. Alright, now what we need to do is go ahead and flush trim everything. And we'll be ready to put the top piece of frame on and the lid. Now that in itself is a little workout. Alright, we're all trimmed up. Now we just need to put on the top frame and the lid. Okay guys, now frame close up. We're going to go mobile for a minute and take a look. Alright, what do you think? So let's start getting the top frame ready, and the lid. We'll be good to go. Alright guys, we got the cedar panels in as well as the interior trim. Now it's time to put the frame on the top before the lid. The frame is a 1/2 inch thick miter frame. I've got biscuit joints in each corner to reinforce the miters, and we are going to attach it with glue and a few brads. And what I'm going to do is in each one of the corners, I'm just putting some small brads. They'll help me align the frame once I glue it. And then I'm just going to nip the heads off. And I want to make sure that on this frame, I don't have a lot of glue. And I want to stay away from the outside edge with the glue. I don't want it dripping out onto the panel frames of the chest. The brads hold it up off of the chest. Till I get everything aligned. And then as I clamp it into place, the clamps will pull it down onto the brads. All right, we'll let that set up, and I'll get a couple more clamps on here, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the lid. All right, guys, we just glued the frame onto the chest. We're gonna let that sit overnight. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm gonna get some sleep. I started on the lid for the chest. I still need to do some sanding, and then we'll get it cut down to size and shaped on the router and get it ready for installation. Now I'm going to finish the lid. I'll finish the lid before I install it because I want to finish everything and I don't want the lid being in the way. I'll finish it separately. I've got a few little touch-up areas to sand out and finish up on the chest, and it's ready for its final finish. We can call this project done. So I'll go ahead and I'll post the video up to what we've done now, which is the cedar lining, the inside trim, and the frame. And then in our last video, we'll go ahead and get the lid shaped, get it finished up, and get it installed and get this chest finished. Alright, have a good night, and or good morning, should I say. And I'll see you soon.